Hello, I think I did it. Hello, hello. Welcome to Dating Real Talk. And I am Kimmy Seltzer, and I am launching Real Talk Tuesdays as part of my new show called Dating Real Talk. If you are here, say hello. I know I am definitely late to the party, fashionably late. I hope. I hope trying to figure out this new technology to go live. A lot of you may know me from my podcast, Charisma Quotient, which I actually pre record. So this is kind of my first go at things live and say hello. Oh, well, hello. Oh my gosh. It's so good to see Katie. It's so good to see you. Yeah. So I just wanted to start off by kicking off this whole launch. Super excited. So, again, my name is Kimmy Seltzer. I am a dating strategist, a confidence therapist, and image expert. That's a mouthful to say. I help people look and feel their best so they attract what they want. And now, for the first time, I am coming to you live in a form of a live show where you can get your answers to questions that you might have around dating, relating, flirting, and all of that. I am planning on going live every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific. I know I'm late today, but 4 p.m. Pacific. And then every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific. On Tuesdays, I'm calling it Real Talk Tuesdays, where you can submit dating questions. If you can't make it live, you can go to datingrealtalk.com and submit questions, and I will read them here live. And if you are here live, even better. So then you can ask me questions and I can give you answers in real time. And the whole premise of this show is kind of talking about some of these reality shows that are out there and how you can apply it to your real dating life. And I love all these shows. Obviously, The Golden Bachelor is near and dear to me. I really dig deep on Thursdays at 4 p.m., and I'm going to be having fabulous guests. Lately, I've been having my friend Allison Melody from Food Heals podcast kind of kick off the discussion of The Golden Bachelor, but hopefully there'll be so much more. Oh, hey, Tom. So it's so good to see some of you. Thanks for coming to my first show and helping me with this. The format, I would like to kind of start out with a theme. I'm always going to do a little sermon at the top of the call, and maybe that will help you think of some questions that you might be having in your own life. And I have to say, I've been doing a lot of calls lately. And for those of you who don't know, I offer free breakthrough calls. And anybody who is listening, I will offer that to you as well. Just go to kimmyseltzer.com and you can see where you can sign up for that. And I would say that the theme that is going on right now, obviously, The Golden Bachelor has brought forth a lot of talk around dating in the second act. And that is something that is special to me, near and dear to me. I actually just had Inside Edition come to my dating retreats and featured how, these women dating after 40 have gotten their spark back. And I've been sparking their sexy. And the whole segment was on how that has happened. I have another dating retreat coming up. And the thing that really excites me is that there's just a lot of focus right now on dating later in life. There never was that before. We used to just talk about it in a generic way. And often the focus was, well, if you're dating, looking to build a life with somebody when you're in your 20s, how to date, right? Well, it is all different when you are dating later on. So, whether you've been coming out of a divorce or you've lost a loved one, or maybe it's been a really, really long time since you have gotten out there, it is different. It's different than when you were in your 20s. And there's a lot of layers to it. And one of the things that I'm finding on all these calls that I'm having with people who are trying to navigate dating in the second act or in the golden years is having a dating mindset overall, hands down. Because when you are younger, you looked for a partner that you could settle down with, to have a picket fence with, to build a life with. Well, now later on, that probably isn't the case. Your goals have changed, you have changed, and therefore your mindset needs to change. But here's the mistake and the problem is that you all are going out there and dating as if you are just picking up where you left off in your 20s and you haven't learned about modern dating yet. You haven't even maybe dated for the sake of dating without getting attached, which is super important and crucial for this stage in your life, because really what you're doing is dating yourself. And as you're dating yourself, you're getting to know what you want. So the mindset really is around gaining clarity on what it is that you want. It's not as easy as you think. You might think, oh, well, I'm just going to go out there and date. I'm going to find me a man. I'm going to find me a woman. And then y'all are getting frustrated with not finding that. But 90% of the problem is because you really aren't crystal clear on what it is you want. So a lot of you who have worked with me, you know this. If you are, under my watch, so to speak, I always say, like, in the first 3 months, you're not even allowed to get a boyfriend and girlfriend. You have to learn how to play on the playground and learn the art and the skill of dating, because dating is a skill, y'all. It's just like learning how to ride a bike. Or, when you first started your job, you probably didn't know how to do your job. And how did you learn? Well, you kept doing it and you kept going over and over and over again until you got so good at it that you can do it with your eyes closed. Like, that's the point where you should be. You should get so good at dating that it doesn't feel hard. It doesn't feel icky, or you don't have this negativity around it. It's something that's fun, fluid, flirty, and when you have that mindset, you're very present and you're really paying attention to what it is that you like in those moments. But a lot of you think that you might be, but you're not. You're so bogged down with, things have happened in the past, and you're trying to ward against fear, ward against bad things happening. So you're worrying about the future that you're not present. So my overall theme, and I went on the news recently and I talked about this, is this notion of quantum dating. I actually had a whole episode on this in the Charisma Quotient. So definitely check that episode out if you want to hear more. But what I love about it is it's growing in popularity. I've been teaching this for years, and now there's a term for it, is really going out there and not thinking that, oh my gosh, there's just one star for me, and trying to find that one star in a galaxy full of stars. It's actually going out there and getting to know each star until one maybe is special, or maybe there's multiple special stars. So it's not getting attached to the outcome. It's not going out there to, look for the end result. It's really going out there and seeing what you're curious about, making connections, having fun. And that is a crucial thing that you have to do when you're dating later in life. Because if you haven't taken time to really get to know yourself and what your goals are with maybe a future partner, then you're missing the boat. And that's when you're getting burned out. I hear it. I hear it on my calls. I hear it with even people who lose sight of what their mission is right now. And so, kind of using this whole metaphor of space and the quantum dating, if you're the astronaut and your mission is to just go out there and get to know as many stars as possible, that is different than trying to find the one, having these lofty expectations, right? So I want to know from you, how many of you are finding yourself struggling in this area where you want to put yourself out there, you want to date, but maybe you don't have clarity in what it is that you want, or even know how to do this thing called dating. So I will throw that out as a big question to you. I know it's a lofty question, but I would love to hear maybe your questions that have come out of that, because A lot of you want to know where to go, what to do, but it's hard to know where to start with it all. So I see some people chatting away. Oh, hey, hello, hello, everybody. Okay, on the struggle bus. Okay, I want to know. Well, what is the struggle bus? Like, who's on the struggle bus? Where are you going on this bus? Or maybe that is the problem. Is that it's maybe doing like loops or doing donuts, as they say. Well, I'm from Chicago, so we used to spin out, right, in the winter. And if you feel like you're spinning out and doing donuts in the road, that is the most maddening thing. And here's what I will say about that too. Often that effect happens is if you have a lot of fears that come up. So maybe you had some trauma in your past relationships. Maybe you were dating a narcissist. Maybe you had a ton of rejection growing up and you never just dated. All of that baggage can cause fear then going out there. So you're on the bus and you're spinning because you are actually wanting something, right? Like you're wanting to go out there and date. You want to make connections. You are feeling lonely, but you also fear it. So you fear what you want and you want what you fear, and that's what keeps you spinning. Sometimes I call it a tug of war. It's like the rubber band effect. It's like, yeah, I want it. And then it's like, no, I don't want it. Right. It's the push me, pull me. And when you're in that spin out, oh my gosh, no wonder you might be shut down. No wonder it's easier to just watch Netflix with some popcorn and say, oh, I give up. I hate dating. If you hate dating, it's probably because of this effect, the loop-de-loo effect. Any of you experience that? Chime in. Okay. So where can we go to meet people IRL that is not on the apps? That is a great question. In fact, funny you should ask. I have a whole workshop coming up on October 22nd. It is called How to Meet People IRL. If you want to register for that, obviously I'm going to do a deeper dive into that. We have fun in there and it's live and it's interactive. I'm not just a talking head where you guys are chatting like you do here. I actually interact with you. We have a PowerPoint. We go into breakout rooms and we practice with each other and it's co-ed. Go to stophatingdating.com to register. That is stophatingdating.com to register. And I promise you all, I didn't plan that. It was just a great question. But what I will say is I do kind of walk through this whole formula. I believe that your dating portfolio should be like your financial portfolio. You need to diversify as much as possible to get the results. It's never a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket or just try to go on the apps and say, now I'm dating, right? You have to do everything you can. It's a numbers game. So the more you're involved in different things, statistically, the more you'll get in front of different people. And the better chances you'll have to meet your tribe. I have a lot of you complaining that it's like you might be meeting people, but then you're complaining that they're not eligible, they're not your type, they're not your tribe. And that might be true. And if that is true, well, then start doing something different. I know that sounds very elementary. However, a lot of you fall into a place of what I call complacency. It's easier, and let's face it, it's more comfortable to just keep doing what you do because it's a known entity. So let's say you're in a social group that you've been going to for many, many, many years. Now, of course, you should still go to that social group. But if you're still complaining that you're not meeting anybody, then add to it. So maybe you reduce the time that you go to the social group and you start putting yourself in situations where there might be some more eligible bachelors and bachelorettes. Gone are the day where you have the social infrastructure for your social life, right? Like when we were young and we were all frolicking around in college, we had many choices. We all were kind of in the same ecosystem and we were all in similar patterns of life and our goals were all similar. So it was easier to find things to do. People were more available to go out with. That's the other thing, right? Like everyone is so busy with work, busy handling the kids, the grandkids, maybe retirement, like all of these things. There's a lot of noise out there and busyness, so it makes it hard to carve out time to do these things. But now you have to be intentional. You can't just rely on things naturally happening because you're not living on campus where someone's knocking on your door say, "Hey dude, let's go to a party tonight." Like if that were only the case. Now, there are some apartment buildings that kind of have that, and I encourage you, if you do live in an apartment building like that, get to know your neighbors. We're becoming so isolated as people. And what's interesting is the more ways that we're able to meet people, it's actually causing more isolation. And you would think it would be the opposite, but as AI grows, as all these different, ways of meeting people are happening in the computer, people are focusing and almost like in this like ADD state where now there's this decision fatigue and no one's really just knocking on people's doors and making time to connect. I'm guilty of it too. I have to actually stop myself. So the key is for you who ask like where to meet people in real life, it's all over the place is the answer. But you have to be really intentional in how you do that. So like when I have clients, I actually create dating plans like business plans. And we will carve out different ways of meeting people. Some of it might be joining clubs. Some of it might be taking classes. Some of it might be getting out of the suburbs. Oh, don't get me started because I'm going to throw myself under the bus for a second. If you live in more remote area and there's a lot of just like, intact homes with families and kids and a lot of married people, nothing against the married people. You are all lovely folks. I love you. And it's not a good time for singles. I mean, this was one of the first things that happened to me when I got single. I lived in a suburban community here in Southern California. And what I found is that while everybody was super nice and they tried to set me up, they never really knew anybody to set me up with. Maybe there was one like single person that they found that, "Oh, Kimmy, I found someone who was single." "Oh, gee, thanks." But was that person even a match for me? No. And I would get like mad at my friends. But the thing is, it was on me. It was on me to actually get out of my bubble and go where some life is. So I always like share the story of the time that I met my first single gal friend who was also a mom when I was in my younger stage. And she actually took me to where life was. And I'll never forget the time where we headed over into Santa Monica from the suburbs. And I remember seeing like sparkly lights. I'm like, oh my God, like people are actually up. They're not sleeping like in the suburbs. And she took me to this bar and I kid you not, there was a line wrapped around the building. And I said to my friend, I said, I'm too old to be going to bars and standing in line. And she says, "Oh, don't worry, I got you." And she literally did her little like her flirty walk and she looked fabulous. I did not look the part at that time. I learned my lesson. Obviously, those of you who know me know my red dress moment and story, but I forgot to wear my red dress that night. And sadly, I was in my mom clothes, but she was dressed to the nines and she kind of bebops up to the front of the line and she whispers something in the bouncer's ear. And we were whisked into the bar. And when I opened the door, I kid you not, there were like all these alien men. I call them aliens because I didn't like know how to talk to them at the time, who were eligible and who were dating in the second act. I was like, oh my God, all this time I did not know that there were a bunch of me a bunch of single people. I thought I was the only one in the suburbs. So it was eye opening for me. And, that was the first time I learned how to flirt. That was the first time I realized how important body language was. And it was so crucial to know how to carry on a flirty and fun conversation rather than a boring, mommy conversation at the time. I definitely was still in my mom mode at the time. But it was a big lesson for me going back to like where to meet people in real life because I realized that it actually, first of all, it has to be intentional, but you have to go outside of your regular routine and you got to get a little uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. I always say this, the only time that you change is when you're in a state of discomfort, not comfort. So if you are doing your comfy, cozy stuff and you're doing it over and over again, you're not getting the results, then go somewhere. So the other thing I will say is that put yourself in places where eligible people are. And if you're into the opposite sex, go to where the opposite sex is. So, ladies, if you're wanting to meet men and you keep going to maybe your yoga class where most, women are, or underwater basket weaving class or sewing, I'm being very, I'm being very generalist right now, but you know what I mean. That's where probably a lot of ladies are hanging out. So go to Home Depot, go to a car show. And look, I know both sexes hang out at both of these places, but you get my point. Like really start thinking where other people might be hanging out that you can talk to. All right. And obviously, if you want to know more, definitely come to my workshop because I kind of do play by play, but I wanted to give you some ideas to start thinking about. All right. What are some other questions? Oh, Tom, how come the married folks always try to marry off the single friend? Yeah, because they want another couple to hang out with. That's why. They want to hook you up and say, here's a person, not necessarily somebody who might be right for you, but oh, I know another single person. Oh, that reminds me of another story. I remember when I was single my neighbor and I loved her. So I mean, and I still love her, but we don't talk anymore as much. And she came to my door one day and she knocked on the door and she was so excited. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Kimmy, guess what?" I'm like, What? She's like, "I met someone at the grocery store and he's single." And I'm like, "Oh, great." And she made him sound amazing. And she had maybe like a 10-minute conversation with him. So she was playing matchmaker and I loved her for it. And when she actually connected me with this guy, I mean, he was not at all a match for me in just so many ways in our values, where were in life. Just everything about him was wrong for me. But I chuckle at that because this happens all the time in the real world, right? So I think that's one thing that a lot of people do when they're dating later in life in the second act. They always rely on their friends and say, "Oh, well, my friends, maybe they'll set me up." Do not wait. Do not sit there and wait for people to connect you. And here's the other thing. You have to remind people that you're single looking to mingle. You got to actually really be your own advocate because while your friends do know you're single, they they have a busy life too. They don't always remember and they may not even know that you're interested. And a lot of you people pleasers out there, because again, I'm a recovering one, um, may not want to bother people. It's like, oh, well, I don't want to just, constantly put a bug in somebody's ear and say, "Hey, by the way, do you know anybody?" But you know what? You have to. It's like looking for a job. You know how like you're relentless with that? Let friends know. I mean, I'm talking about good friends. Let those good friends know that you're really, interested. I look at dating almost as networking, right? Like you have to really like go to as many things as possible. Oh, here's another tip. don't think of like meeting people in the real life as only around like dating events. In fact, I actually am kind of against like single events. Now there's some of them that are popping up that are fantastic, but I will say round it out with the events that have to do more with your interest, because the problem with going to single events, and you all know this, is the energy that it brings, and the ratios of men to women are always off if that's what you're into. So there's this like hunter energy that comes, right? And by the way, this is something that I see happen on The Golden Bachelor. And I just had one of the Golden Bachelor contestants from first season come on my podcast. It's going to come out this week. So definitely check it out. Her name is Natasha Hardy. She was one of the first ladies. And she backed this up because I saw this on the show, is that as things dwindle down, like at first the women are so excited to be with each other, having that friendship, and that still was the case, but there was this sense of competition. Now obviously the show breeds competition. That's part of why people like watching it, right? But I find this to be true in single events. Women are looking around, they're trying to vie for the same guy, and men have the hunter, kind of energy. And sometimes it can feel really anxiety provoking and off. And it upsets a lot of people. I have a lot of clients come back from single events, almost more depressed than when they went in. So that's why I definitely recommend going to places where you feel confident in things around your interest or your hobbies and your passions. So think about that. All right. What other questions do you have? Anybody? Okay. Are there actually good eligible singles left after 50? Oh, gosh. I get this so many times, and it seems like they are all players and losers. Where are the good ones at? It's so funny. And actually Natasha and I on the podcast talked about that as well. All right, so here is what say. The short answer is yes. There are amazing people everywhere in every state. It's not the state that you live in, it's not the age that you're at, it's not the size of who you are. There are eligible bachelors everywhere. How do I know this? Because they're all coming to my retreats. They are all in my Kimmy's Love Hub community. They are all coming to the workshops. And the problem is that y'all aren't meeting each other. And that's why I'm very passionate about like actually starting more events and building more community. I really hope that this show builds, and maybe I'll start doing, events around it where people can meet, come to my workshops, because there are amazing people. So yes, there are everywhere. And my clients, a lot of them who work with me, find people. If you listen to Where Are They Now episodes on my charisma quotient, these are real people who have found love. Yes, even after 50. But it goes back to what I said at the top of the show, is that you have to be very clear in what it is that you're trying to find. And so I would invite you to think about, like, are you putting yourself out there in many, many different ways that we're talking about? Are you being fun? Are you being flirty? Or are you scrutinizing? Are you vetting people so hard and because of maybe your past, or you're feeling a little bit negative around dating, that's leaking? And let me tell you, you leak. You leak, you all. You leak in your body language. You leak in the way you're having conversations. You leak in your attitude. And when you have that negativity, guess what? You attract either, like what you said, losers, players, negative people. You attract what you are. And I'm not this huge like woo woo girl, but in this case, I see it. I see it all the time. And look, I'm throwing myself under the bus too. I'm not just saying you listening. Me too. I have to catch myself when I'm in a negative state. nothing good comes out of it, whether that be business or, hanging out with my friends or whatever it is. This is such an important thing. And when you come across like a lot of losers or players, I believe you. I'm not saying that. And in fact, I really get the fact that that's probably all that you're seeing. The only thing that means is that you need to do something different because we can't change the players, we can't change the losers, but we can change you. And if you're willing to look at yourself in the ways of, well, what are some things that I can do different? Where can I put myself that might be different? What are some attitudes that I could have that would put me in a different state so that I attract something different? And Goddess, I love Goddess, I love that name, Goddess Serena Rose, that's all you can do. And to me, that is a goddess type of attitude. If you kind of walk through the world with this kind of positive goddess energy, you will find your prince, you will find your king. But it does take intention, it does take work. And that's what gets hard. So what I would say, like, one way to start is whatever you're doing right now, it's not working. So shut that down. Like, if you're maybe just doing online dating and that's where you're seeing all these guys, then I would take an online dating fast and I would do it for 3 months. And instead, that doesn't mean shut down your life. Instead, put yourself in real life and just start flirting with men that you see everywhere, at the grocery store, at the coffee shop, wherever you feel that you can practice being positive, fun, and flirty. And that can put you in a different state. And you never know who you might meet by doing that. Start thinking outside the box or outside your little bubble or community where you can put yourself. Okay, that was a really good question because it's something that I see all the time. Any other questions? Any other questions? Wow, first of all, thank you all for chiming in and asking these fantastic questions. I did have a question actually, because I save all my questions from Charisma Quotient because I get a lot of inquiries. So I came prepared in case nobody was on here and chatting. I want to do this. Let me find where I had. Okay. Oh, I like this question, and it has to do with rejection. So it says, I think this was a guy who wrote in, and he said, "Why does rejection hit harder now that I'm older? I used to bounce back easily, but now it feels personal." You know, if you are feeling a little dusty, a little rusty, the thought of putting yourself out there can really be hard. And usually the fear of rejection is the number one thing that prevents people from, going out there, especially if it's been a really, really long time. Here's what I'll say, and I'm just going to throw this out because I think it was a man who wrote this, is that there is no sense in my mind and my mindset, and this is what I try to teach and preach, of rejection. It's like, I don't even think of that word, even like with business or things that don't work or, conversations I might have with friends, family. Like, for me, things that don't work out is just experience. And experience equates confidence. This is how I define in all my workshops what confidence is about. So if you're not feeling confident, say, approaching a woman, it means either A, you haven't had positive exposure to it. So maybe in the past, you've had a lot of no's, or maybe you're experiencing the rejection, or it's been so long that you haven't had enough experience in it later in life. Like you were saying in the question, if you're listening and you're out there, is that when you were younger, you didn't care. When you're younger, you don't care about a lot of things, let's face it, right? Because you haven't experienced life yet. So you're carefree. You almost feel like you're invincible. You can conquer the world. You can do it all, right? And even when we go back to kids, now kids are the best, right? They just jump. They have no sense of, any kind of fear. Why? Because life hasn't happened yet. So they're fearless, right? They'll just go up to someone on a playground and say, "Hi, what are you doing? Want to play?" Like, why don't we do that after 40? Well, because life has happened, hurt has happened. And every time we've had hurt happen, it's like the brick wall gets thicker and thicker. And suddenly we're behind this, what I call love shield, that no one can break down, no one can penetrate. And so then we try to go back out there and approach a girl or a woman now, and it feels scary because we're hiding behind the wall, we're protecting ourselves. And more so than that, you get in your head. And so as you as it happens later in life, when these fears are occurring, you start thinking too much, right? Anyone relate to this? You start overthinking and overanalyzing. And what if I say this? And what if she says that? And all the things that start kind of just filtering in your head. And suddenly you realize, oh my gosh, an hour has gone by and I never approached that hot person. I'll never forget my last retreat. This happened to one of the guys that was in my retreat. And we were in Key West and we were out where this band was playing, and a woman caught his eye. And he was like, "Kimmy, she's gorgeous. She's my type." And I know you all get tripped up on people who you're more attracted to, right? Obviously, everybody does. Why? Because there's more expectation. There's more, kind of there's like more at stake, right? So he froze. He didn't approach her at all. We were there for literally 2 hours, and no matter how we tried to talk him into just jump, just go for it, just say hi, he was so frozen and hidden with his kind of past fears and all the rejection that he's experienced, and also things about his ex. And like, that's the thing. We have triggers that come up. So when we're in that state of like, like, oh my gosh, freezing, all the things that we've gotten hurt from are triggers from the past. And that causes us to freeze and not move forward. So it was a hard lesson for him. He was full of regret the next day. He's like, "I can't believe I missed my chance to practice getting over myself." But that's okay. He continued to work with me, and now he can approach women left and right. How did he get there? He did it over and over and over again. How did he do it over and over again? Well, before he didn't do that before he came to the retreat. Well, it took practice, it took accountability, and it took coaching. We all need that. We all need people that hold us accountable, that lift us up, that encourage us, but we have to be consistent with it. It's not enough to just do one and done. Hey, it's kind of meta to what I'm going to be talking about right here. Thanks to Allison Melody, who is listening on here, who you will catch on Thursday's episode. She held me accountable. I almost didn't go live today, right? Allie, you can back me up. And as I say, well, I don't know. I was getting into that analysis paralysis, that perfectionistic analysis. I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I announced it enough. And I have this amazing group here. And I'm so glad that I started it. But like, to just approach you all first, I was in my head about it. Well, now that I have this Tuesday under my belt, guess what? I'm going to go and I'm going to do the Tuesday next week and the Tuesday after that and after that, until I'm going to look back on this day and be like, what was I worried about? Well, approaching people is no different. So rejection is tied to this, because if you get in your head and you're worried about what other people think and feel, it freezes you. But when you just go after what you want, that's when opportunity is there. That's when things happen. That's when people connect. So get over yourself. Stop overthinking it and just do it. Tom, you know this. Remember, you jumped in the water. I love that you're here, if you're still here. Yes. Thank you, Allie. Oh my God, Kareen. It's so good. See, now if I didn't come on here, all people who are near and dear to me wouldn't even be here. So I get to say hi to my friends, hi to my clients, and I'm going to keep on going. So I love this. And thank you for being here. Um, any other questions? Oh, Tom, you're still here. Yes. And Tom knows this and he's been getting over it and he's been talking to people. So Tom, I want to give you like a total gold star. Love that you're here and but he's doing the work, right? And he is getting over some fears. We all have fears. All of us. I just told you a fear about going live just now. It can be something that is small and it can be something that is tall. But a lot of our fears, and I actually talk about this in one of my workshops. It's a very powerful workshop that I do. So look for it coming up. And again, you can go to stophatingdating.com. Every month, I do a different theme. I do a different dating skill type of workshop. But one of the powerful ones that I do has to do more with the internal stuff. And that is authentic dating and how we express ourselves. And I touch upon the hidden fears that we all have. And one thing that I say a lot is that fears are often a figment of our imagination, and it's rooted in something that has happened to us early on. So, if you are, let's say, scared of approaching girls or women, maybe in the past, as a youngster, as a boy, you got made fun of, or you were laughed at, or you were somehow made to feel stupid, awkward, whatever it is. I call them the gremlins, right? The gremlins are back here. Even though fast forward, you're after 40 and you're dating, those perceived things that had happened in the past become the fears that are right now in the present, but they're not real. They're a figment of your imagination. They're programmed thoughts, they're programmed fears, but our body still reacts. That's what's so crazy because we may know it intellectually, but then our body reacts, right? So that's the fight or flight response. So the only way that you can get over the perceived fears, which normally aren't real, is exposure therapy, right? Like as a therapist, I know this to be true. When I did it in a traditional sense, in the safe setting of my office, I might expose a client to something over and over and over again. Well, what I love about the coaching that I do is okay, that's one thing to do a simulation of that fear and try to get over it. Or maybe you do it in the comfort of your own home. Like maybe you approach the mirror and pretend that's a woman and you say, "Hi, my name is so and so." And that is something that you can get over and practice on your own. That's a great place to start. But what I love is then after you get good at that, then upping the ante. Then you go out to the grocery store and you approach, say, 5 people every week and do that for a month and see how you get over that fear then. Okay, great. So maybe that's just at the grocery store. Then you up the ante again the next month. You talk in the mirror, you approach 5 people a week, and now you add people you're attracted to. Ooh, totally scary. So now you add to the mix, you approach at least 2 people that you're attracted to in addition to the 5. Do you get my point? So I think a lot of you are, I think, put such lofty expectations on yourself. And that's where you end up again, freezing and not doing anything at all. So I hope this was helpful. Did you all enjoy this? Put something in the chat. Any other last questions? And I am going to always close out the show with a lesson in my opinion, what kind of came out of some of the discussion today. Um, Yay. Okay. Thank you all for the love. Thank you for being here. Um, I will close out by saying this is that action speaks louder than words. That's an old phrase that you hear over and over again, but it couldn't be more relevant to what we're talking about. Is that it's not enough to think it, it's not enough to want it. You have to do it. And I know I started at the top by talking about this whole notion of quantum dating and putting yourself out there with the idea of getting to know yourself, being curious, not worrying about what's next, not shooting your star so high that you're just vetting for the one. If you are dating in the second act or over 40, especially, do yourself a favor. Instead of focusing on the guy or the girl, focus on you. What is it that you can learn? What leverage, like skill, can you leverage? What kind of habit do you want to break? What kinds of things that you can practice to make you feel more confident? And when you're confident, that's what attracts people in the end. Maybe it's something where, like in the top, I told you to go to a different venue. Maybe it's a different restaurant and just start talking to people. Maybe just start with that. Maybe it's approaching an attractive person at the grocery store because it's something you normally don't do and just say hi. Better yourself. And when you increase your dating confidence, that's when you will end up attracting the right person for you. But you got to be very intentional. You have to put yourself in action or else nothing happens, right? And that is the definition of an insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again. So if you are in that loop, you're spitting donuts in the road like we were talking about before, get off the hamster wheel and just start driving yourself into action. So with that, thank you for coming. At least, and if you were here the whole time, thank you so much for the support. I feel the love. Allie, thank you for making me do this and putting on this show. Join us live again Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, where Allie and I are going to do some digging more on the whole Golden Bachelor. I think we're on episode 4. And so we're going to talk about the lessons that came out of episode 4 and so much more. This has been the Real Talk Tuesdays as part of the Dating Real Talk. My name is Kimmy Seltzer, and I hope you'll join me each week on this. With that, good evening and goodbye.